Cool. Let's try that again. Welcome everybody to today's webinar. Now, I am very excited about today's session because I have action-packed as much as I can into an hour. We have got so much to cover off. I'm a little bit worried that I might have even put in too much content for today's webinar, but I'll do my best to be able to share with you guys all these concepts, these principles, these ideas around property investing, to hopefully be able to take the fear away from it, because I understand it can be a scary place to go into. So my goal is to be able to take that fear away so that you guys can have the ability to go in and make the right decisions based on what you guys are looking to do with your investments. So we do have a very busy hour ahead of us, but I'm very much looking forward to sharing with you guys. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jono Frankel. I am the CEO here at Wealth Mentor, and I have so much joy in presenting on behalf of Wealth Mentor, because to be honest, guys, I turned up just like you guys are today, turned up just like you to a session with the Wealth Mentor team, and the journey has been absolutely incredible. As well as that, I mean, that whole principle of buying that first investment property is so important, because if we get that one right, we can set ourselves up, we can create the legacy for our families, for the future, by making the right decision early on with the right type of property for your position. And that's something I want you to really consider. Everybody's position, where they're looking to get to, where they're starting from, is different. So let's make sure we create a journey that is going to be best for you. And that's what I really want you to focus on out of today. Let's have a look at what we will be covering off in today's session. Like I said, it is about buying that first investment property. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of market analysis. I'm going to have a little bit of fun around that as well, as to what we could be anticipating out of the market in the current state, because, well, we've got an interesting position right now in terms of the market, and I find it fascinating how people respond to it. I'll give you some insight. I spoke to a couple of my property managers around the country yesterday, just to get some nice fresh ideas as to what's happening. So I'll share that with you guys as well. We'll have a look at, is your investment property going to be profitable? Are we going to be able to create a portfolio that is going to create that profitable portfolio for you guys going forward? I'm going to share with you as well three key formulas that you guys need to ensure that you have under your belt to be able to make sure that you're making the right decisions, as well as that, a couple of different strategies, because there's so many strategies when it comes to property, so many strategies. So let's make sure that we have the ideas as what might be best in your position, and also some current examples of some deals that students are doing. Before I do go any further, let's check that your keyboards are working, please. Team, let's jump in the chat and let me know what you're hoping to get out of today. If you're not sure, then just say hello. And you're just here to learn something. That's cool as well. But I'd love to hear from you guys. Jump in the chat and let me know what you are looking forward to getting out of today's session. I just want to make sure that the chat's working as well. It's not just a private chat between me and Carol, because you know, we can have a chat at any stage, eh, Carol? Cool. While I let you guys figure out where your keyboards are, let me carry on and let me introduce you guys to who I am. Now, I realize that, you know, this is not what you're here to find out about, but at the same time, I want to share with you guys who is going to be presenting to you guys and sharing you guys the knowledge about today's session. So my name, like I said before, is Jono Frankel. For me, I am a family man. Family for me comes first in everything I do. It's all about my family, whether it is in the current position and being able to attend you know, their dances in the lunchtime on a school day, or whether it is going to create the future for my family. Carol, just keep an eye out. There's a whole lot of people that are rolling in. If you can let them in as they come in, that'd be brilliant. A couple of latecomers. Welcome, latecomers. It's great to have you. I realize Saturday morning, probably a little bit of a sleep in. All good. Now, today is about that first investment property. An interesting little thing about this is my first investment property was actually on a reality TV show. Now, there's a name that I recognize on today's webinar, which is really cool to have you, Sean, on here, because Sean actually came in and was one of the builders that helped us out on this show. It's kind of crazy. And Sean actually ended up being a builder on many of our first investments. So great to have you here, Sean. It's cool to see your name there. And yeah, looking forward to being able to share some ideas. Cool. Confidence and strategy towards buying and investment property. Brilliant. We'll definitely be covering that off here to pick up some useful tips. Damn right, you're going to be picking up some useful tips. That's the goal out of today. But yeah, my first was on a reality TV show. So we did a show, me and my wife, our first home. It was really cool. It was an eye opener. Made a complete fool of myself on national television, but that's besides the point. What it actually did is it gave me an insight into what property could do. It gave me this sort of view that, well, I could continue being a tennis coach for a long time and hit a lot of tennis balls and never really create the legacy that I want for my family, or I could look to use property as a vehicle to create the future for me and my family. And that was the realization for me. And that's when I sought out the team at Wealth Mentor. And it's quite fascinating to then imagine that I've now gone through to become the head of property, or head of everything, I guess, in terms of Wealth Mentor, which is pretty humbling. At the same time, I absolutely love it because of the fact that we give back to so many people and educate so many beautiful people. I'm obviously very experienced in my investing, worked with a lot of students, being able to share some knowledge with them and be able to get them to where they want to be, which has been brilliant. And as well as that, I'm a big fan of sport, and well, I do love a good barbecue. It's something I do like. The longer the better. You know, I've been known to get up at 5, 4 in the morning to get a barbecue on. I think I'm a bit nuts, but I do love that part of it. Now, Wealth Mentor as a company, we've got this little mission, and that mission is that we have the ability, we believe, to make wealth look accessible to everybody. We have the ability to share the knowledge so that everybody can create that wealth. But I think it's fascinating to take a step back and consider, what is wealth? What is wealth to you? Because wealth to me and Carol is actually different. We both, alongside working with Wealth Mentor, to be able to share the knowledge, but we've got different concepts of what wealth is to us. So you guys as individuals will have a different concept as to what wealth is to you. So just take a moment and think about it. What is that concept of wealth for you? What is the legacy that you're looking to leave for you and your family? Because for me, this is wealth to me. Wealth is, for me, as well, a bit of fly fishing, sharing the knowledge. You'll see that photo there of me presenting from our studio. I love the opportunity of sharing knowledge with people, hence being here today. But as well as that, for me, it's about family. My parents, as you can see them there, made a massive sacrifice in moving from South Africa to New Zealand to create a better life for me and my family. They sacrificed really great jobs. My dad was a professional racing driver. It doesn't get any better as a job, maybe an investor, but it doesn't really get any better than that. And they made a massive sacrifice to move over, which was pretty cool to see. And it's something that I think that has really given me the whole concept of trying to create this best life for my family. You can see my family there in the top right. My beautiful wife, Karen, and my kids, Harley and Isla. And then I also love a round of golf. That was actually a cool day. That was the longest golf day. It was actually called that. We played 72 holes in one day. It took us, I think it was 14 and a half hours, but we raised $10,000 for our Cancer Society. So that was pretty special. I do love a round of golf as well. So that's a little bit about me. Really take that on board though, guys. Start to think about you. What does wealth mean to you? Because that is something that is really, really powerful. I can see a couple of comments coming through there. Julia, that is a brilliant one. I'm not going to be able to read that because I don't, but I'll definitely come back and jump on that one. That's a beautiful bit of information there. Ju, thank you for sharing as well. But Julia, maybe what I'll do is I'll come back to your one towards the end, because we will have some time at the end for some of those questions to be answered. But anyway, let's come back to the property market right now. What a fascinating space, eh? But do you know what I believe right now? And it's going to be a little bit maybe on the nose for some people, but right now I believe that this is the property market. It's the big sale. It's the big sale. It's the big opportunity that we have right in front of us. Now, this has probably come about from a number of reasons. It's probably come about from things like, well, the media. I'll get to that. We've got interest rates that are high. They're high compared to what they were a year or two ago. They're not that high though. And I'll tell you one thing. I'm quite happy to do property investment up to 10, sometimes even higher % interest rate, because it depends on the deal. So it's something that we need to get our head around, that it's actually not that high. As well as that, we've seen a lot of legislation changes, a lot. And it's just a matter of us starting to get our heads around it. You don't need to be exactly knowledgeable on everything, but just get our heads around some of the concepts so that we can make sure that we are making the right decisions with our investment. And that's something hopefully I can share with you guys today, or in future sessions that we spend together, to be able to share that knowledge with you guys. Now, coming back to the media. Media is such a fascinating space. And I did this a couple of weeks ago, and I had some fun with it. All I searched, I went into Google, I went property market NZ. Look at the negative comments around this. And we see all the comments. We see things in the media like the property market is down because rents are dropping. We're seeing oversupply of rental properties because people properties are sitting on the market. We're seeing values drop. So like I said to you, I called a couple of people that I work with around the country, that our students work with. And I spoke to some property managers yesterday. You know what they told me? They've got huge demand still. They've got waiting lists of people waiting for property still. As well as that, investors aren't selling, but also properties aren't dropping in value. But what we're seeing is the media take little pockets within New Zealand and apply it to a nationwide concept. There's certain areas that is happening. One, for example, that really stands out for me at the moment is West Auckland. If any of you guys are familiar with West Auckland as a area, and some more specific pockets there. Now, I won't go into specifics now, but we've seen a slight oversupply because of all the townhouses being built. We've seen an oversupply of the infill, multiple properties built and a slight oversupply. What that has caused is some of the stats that we're seeing then come through the media. So my thing to you guys, no matter where you live and where you invest, doesn't have to be the same. Know your area. Don't take headlines in the media as gospel for your specific area. Very, very important. You probably want to write that one down, guys. Know your specific area and what's happening in there. But really, the other thing is that property is on sale. But when property goes on sale, everyone goes, that's a bit scary. Property's on sale. I'm not sure I want to buy property right now. It's dropping in value. But when we go to the fact that maybe, okay, Briscoe's is a bad example because they always have a bloody sale. Let's go somewhere else, like a Farmers, for example. Farmers has things on sale, or there's Boxing Day sales. Everybody races to the mall. It's like, this is the time to buy. But when property is on sale, everyone goes, no, that's not for me. But, again, Boxing Day sales, man, the malls are absolutely packed. But property's on sale, everybody starts running a little bit scared. So what that ends up doing is giving us potentially, in certain areas, again, I want to say that certain areas, a misunderstanding around this housing market running scared. So you know what? For you guys today, I'm going to tell you exactly what is going to happen in the property market, because that's what you guys want to know, isn't it? You want to know the stats on what's happening in the property market. Absolutely. Now, bear in mind, again, come back to what I've mentioned, you know your area, but hey, let's have a look what could happen. First of all, property prices could continue to go down. They could even go up. Do you know what? They may even stagnate and stay the same. Did you know that there's an interesting stat, and this is this is one for the records, that economists have actually predicted 2 of the last 120 crashes. Yes, that's right. They predicted 2 of them. They predicted 120 of them. They got 2 of them right. So it's not about understanding what's going to happen in the market. It's about understanding your area. What are the demands like in your area? What's happening in terms of the values within your area? Now, all jokes aside, we're coming into an interesting time as well from a national perspective, because borders have just started to open. All the stats that you read in terms of immigration in and out, people in and out, is actually quite dated. We're a few months behind. So we've got starting to see changes within demand. A lot of the property managers saying they're getting a lot of inquiries from overseas people moving to New Zealand. The borders are starting to open, people are starting to come back in. As well as that, we've got a massive, massive issue with emergency housing. Massive. And this stat's probably going to blow your mind. There is 30,000 people living in motels and hotels. It's staggering, isn't it? I'll let you take that one in. I want to read Julia's question. It's there for me. I need to read it. Give me 1 second. Oh, Julia, that's brilliant. I'm going to cover that off for you, no problem. So, coming back to it, 30,000 people living in hotels and motels. It's quite a fascinating number. Now, one of our mentors, Paul, who's, man, what an absolute legend of a man. He's based in the Wairarapa. He's built over 700 homes. He's a hell of an investor and developer. And he was at the National Construction Conference just a couple of weeks ago in Rotorua. Sean, I'd be interested to know if you were there as well. And what he was telling me is that the most current stats out of government currently is that they're 114,000 houses short. 114,000 houses short. It's massive numbers. But on top of that, we're only actually able to create 35,000 houses per year. That includes apartments, townhouses. So you can see the shortage. Now, even if migration went backwards, that's a staggering amount of shortage of housing that we've got in New Zealand. That's going to take a while to catch up. Now, if we have a look at the market, we see generally, and this graph here shows us a period from over 15 years, that we've seen values increase 3 times, over 3 times in 15 years, which comes back to the old stat that we've got within property, that values double in value, properties double in value every 7 to 10 years. That's a general stat. Now, yes, we've seen some large growth over a little bit. And that's probably why we've seen a little bit of a stagnation currently. But long-term growth is a great byproduct of property. Beautiful thing. But I think it's important when you guys go into investing in property that you look at what it's at its current state. Now, values could drop. And that's why understanding values is important, so that you're making sure you're buying below the value to give yourself a little bit of safety net. And I love the concept of keeping our investors safe. Because, well, we saw, if you have a look there, in 2008, 2009, that was GFC, global financial crisis, the biggest financial crisis that the world has ever seen. Now, the biggest drop that we saw in any region within New Zealand was 10%. 10%. Now, I can assure you that all our students are making sure that they're making at least 20% within the buy and the add of value. So that there is a really solid safety net that you have. Now, if you are taking the media as your gospel for property investment, when the media tells you that the market is improved, I'm sorry, but you've missed the sale. You've missed the opportunity to buy the property at the reduced value, because they're going to come back out of the other end quite solid, because again, it's a simple economics, supply and demand. Grab your pens, you want to write this one down. Buy property as though it's never going to increase in value. buy the property as though it's never going to increase in value. It's a beautiful byproduct, but run the numbers based on the income that the property can create for you and the equity that you are able to make within the purchase as the key principle. Now I'm going to start off with our first equation of the morning. I'm sharing 3 with you guys today. The first equation of the morning is probably the most general equation that you can use within your property investment journey. Now, gross yield. Gross yield is a simple equation that compares the income of the property, so the rent, compared to the purchase of the property, giving us a percentage as to how hard the rent is working compared to the purchase. The way we work out a gross yield is we take our annual rent. So if your property rents for $500 per week, take your annual rent and you multiply that by 52 to get your annual rent. You divide that by your purchase price, how much you purchased the property for, multiply by 100 is going to give you a percentage. Let me run a quick example, and this is the most simple example because I wanted to make it nice and clean for you guys so you understand it. If we had a property that rented for $500 per week, but it had a purchase price of $500,000, which is pretty common for a lot of those off the plan properties that you may be buying, you're getting about a 5% gross yield. So we take our $26,000, which is our annual rent, divide that by 500,000 times 100, giving us 5.2%. Now, a little bit of a thing to consider is this property would actually lose you money. Hang on to that thought. But at a 5% gross yield. Now, just for you guys for future, nice, easy way to think about it. 500 and 500, 500,000, but 500, 500 is going to give you that 5% gross yield. So again, if it's a million and 1,000, it's going to give you that 10% gross yield. Nice and easy, 5% gross yield, apologies. Nice, easy way to always work it out in your head and be able to quickly analyze whether a deal is worth analyzing any further. So really, before you go into an investment, the key is the numbers because it takes away the emotion. Because property can be an emotional purchase. I mean, how often do we hear the phrase, I really liked the house. It was such a cute street. I could see myself living there. It's such a common concept that we hear. But when we go into an investment, we want to be going into the investment knowing that the property and the strategy that we're following is going to give us what we desire from our investment. I'll explain more as I go through today, but keep that concept in mind. Because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we're buying properties that create an income. And that there is all about your cash flow. Because cash flow is king. Cash flow is king. Now, if I go back to that property that I showed you before, that after all expenses is potentially going to be losing you some income. But what we want to be doing is making sure that we can run our numbers to establish whether a property is earning us income. So here is the calculation that you guys are going to use. Now, if you currently have investment properties, I highly recommend you to take these numbers and run it on your investment property. See how much cash flow you are creating. The way that we work it out, we first of all take our income on the property, just like any business, income on the property being our rent. We then take off our expenses associated to the property. So we take off our interest. That interest there should be able to be done at 100% of the borrowing. So if you borrow all the money for the property, you should still be getting a positive number at the back end. Our MO is actually our monthly operating expenses. That there will cover off things like insurance, rates, maintenance. That there ensures that the property is running on a day-to-day basis. And then we have our management fees. That's paying a property manager to look after the property. So that when your toilet breaks in your investment property, you're not getting a call at 2 a.m. from tenants. The property manager is. There's way too many toilets for me to be worrying about that sort of carry on. But really what we want to do is we want to take our income, take off our expenses to establish our cash flow. Let me show you what this looks like in a real life deal. So this is Ruby, who's one of our students who's just recently purchased a property down in Invercargill. This purchase was. Ruby lives in Christchurch and is purchased in Invercargill. Ruby's rent that she achieves from this property is $440 per week. So what she's then done is she's taken that and worked it out into a monthly equation. So 440 times 52 divided by 12 to get her monthly number. Then she's then taken off our expenses. Remember the first one being an interest rate. So that there is 100% of the borrowing is 100% of the purchase price. She's taken 60% LVR. So she's borrowed 60% of the value of the property. Okay. And then that there is at 5% interest rate to give her $700 per month of interest that she will be paying on that loan. The next expense that we take off is Mo. Remember that dude that lives under the stairs and handles your maintenance, handles your rates, handles your insurance. So about 15% is what we use to work this out. Once you go into your deals and you work them out and they're more specific, you'll actually break down those numbers. But 15% is a good way to kind of cover that off with a little bit of margin on it. $286 per month. Management, the property manager looking after the property, getting the best tenants in there, is going to be $191. So now we've got income, we've taken off all our expenses, and then at the end of the day, we've got the income that we're going to earn from this property, our profit. Our profit. So Ruby, this one purchase, which is not an expensive purchase, she purchased this property for $280,000, has given her $729 per month of passive income. Now, I want to state that this is before taxes. The taxes are an important one, and it's important to make sure that you guys are phrasing your income and setting yourselves up correctly. But to be fair, if we're worrying about tax, we're not worrying about the correct frame of mind. We're not focusing our attention to the right concept, because tax is a good thing to pay. Yeah. Be tax efficient, 100%. But paying tax is a good thing, because if you're paying tax, it means that you're earning income. You're paying more tax, it means that you're earning more income. So don't be afraid of taxes, just be tax efficient. So then you might be saying to me, okay, Jono, well, there's a couple of tax incentives or tax benefits for buying a property that's new, an off-the-plan property. Correct, there is. But there's also tax incentives if you are smart about your existing properties and how you set that up. And we will definitely be able to share that with you guys if for any of you that are interested to know a little bit more about that. But let's have a look at comparing. Remember, I shared with you guys that $500,000 purchase and $500 per week. That's a pretty standard numbers for a an off-the-plan property regionally. If you're probably in Auckland, you may be more like $800 and $600 a week rent. So you're starting to actually get the other way. But let's have a look at it and then compare that to the property that Ruby purchased. So you can see here, the property that Ruby purchased was at 280, the new build at 550. If we take all those numbers into account, the renovation on the new build, well, obviously there's no renovation, it's a new build. Equity created, there's no actual equity created by buying below value or being able to add value. You may have had growth, you may, but we don't rely on growth. Growth is a complete byproduct. It's a complete crystal ball. We don't know it's going to happen. We know that we can rely on the fact that the equity created at time of purchase is there, but growth is really not something that we can be sure we're going to achieve. This property here would create about $4,500 per year of income. Let's then shift across to Ruby's deal. So Ruby purchased it for $280. She's achieving $440 per week. Ruby had to get a $30,000 renovation done on this property. But the property then had a new valuation coming in at $390,000. So she has bought a $280, spent $30. It's now worth $390,000. That there is $80,000 that she has created. Take a moment to think how many hours of work is there in $80,000? A couple of hours, isn't there? Now, her cash flow is significantly higher than the new build based on the yield. Remember, going back to the calculation before, giving her almost $9,000. Now, the interest deduction, if she wasn't to go down, get a new code of compliance, using potentially some social housing, some other avenues that she could go down to get interest deduction, she would have an extra tax expense of $2,500, but she's still way above on the income that she's achieving from this property. But not only that, she has got $80,000 of equity created, $80,000 of wealth, $80,000 that is going to her legacy, her portfolio, and her wealth creation. Pretty cool to see. Which brings me to our second equation that I need you guys to take away from today. And that is all about the equity created. Nice and simple. Buy the property below its value. There's a value that a property sits at. Buy the property below that value. Have a way to add value to the property. Is going to create you an equity gain. That equity gain is wealth. Now, you can't use the equity gain to go and, go down to dairy, go, hey, Mr. Dairy owner, I'd love to buy this bottle of juice. Can you just chuck it on that equity that I just created? You can't do that. You can get the bank to give you a line of credit against it. There's a few different ways, but you can't just use equity. Same as if you got equity in a current home. If you've lived in your home for a number of years, you've probably got some equity in that property. You can't go and buy a pack of chips of dairy with it, but you can use that equity. You can actually use that equity to buy more property. You use that equity as your deposits for your next property. You use that equity to create more income generating property. You look at that property that Ruby just purchased for $280,000. She was able to create $700 of income. She would have only needed, I'm just going to run this quickly off the top of my head, about $100,000 of equity to be able to buy that property. $100,000 of equity is not a lot to be able to buy that property. And this is how you are able to go and buy another one and another one if you so choose. Because again, it comes down to you and your journey. Hopefully that's given you a bit of insight. Now, it comes down to, once you create this equity, are we going to revalue the property, refinance the property, or are we going to sell it and make a profit? Now, Sean, as a builder, you may want to be thinking about doing that because we've got some students that are doing exceptionally well with just buying, renovating, and selling. And I'm going to share a deal with you later on this morning. But if you're wanting to build long-term wealth, that is where going in and buying the properties, adding the value, and refinancing it so that you can buy more comes in. Let's have a look again at Ruby's numbers in terms of the value that she's been able to create. Excuse me. She's purchased the property at $280,000. She's got a value of the property at purchase of $310,000. That $30,000 renovation, it's given her a value of $390,000. How cool is that, guys? Let me know in the chat. Would you like one of these deals? Would one of these deals make a difference to your life? Not a massive deal, not a complete game changer, but it would make a difference. An extra $700 per month, an extra $80,000 of wealth towards your legacy. Yeah, Carol, of course. Now I'm going to come back to the gross yield number. Okay, let's have a look at the gross yield in terms of this property that Ruby did. Remember, gross yield, we take our rent, we multiply that by 52 to get our annual. So that gives us $22,000 of annual income. If you haven't got it yet from me, I like to round up and round down. I probably should be $23,000. So $23,000 over $280,000, giving us an 8.2% gross yield. This is the sort of numbers that you're looking to achieve from your properties. Equity creation and a strong yield is going to give you a good cash flow. Hopefully that makes some sense for you guys. I want to share with you how your journey may continue after buying that first property. And I'm going to share it with you from one of our students. And this guy, his name's Torb. And I love this photo of Torb because he knows I love fly fishing and he sent me this photo. He's actually in New Zealand right now. I saw on his Instagram, he's here again doing one of his business trips. He lives in Adelaide, does his business trip, and he's doing it on the Tongariro River currently, fly fishing. But Torb sent me this email not so long ago. It's really cool to see what he's been up to. He's able to create financial freedom. He's created a large portfolio all from Perth. That one sentence there that absolutely resonates with me is, I can do this because of property investing and achieving financial gain. Thanks again for your great training and support. Sorry, I just had to share that with you guys. But let's have a look at what Torb has been able to achieve. Torb has been able to achieve a property portfolio worth $6 million. Now, I want you to go up one and have a look at purchase, including reno. Now, this number is his total purchases plus all his reno costs. It's not taken into account the fact that he's borrowed money from the banks. So he's not put $3.5 million into the property. He's gone in and put an initial deposit on a property and a renovation, and then given him the ability to leverage and buy some more properties. Now building a portfolio worth over $6 million and creating $150,000 of passive income per year. It's so cool to see. You may want to go down this route and build a $6 million portfolio. Or maybe just one or two properties will make a huge difference to your life. That's something that you need to figure out for yourself. And comes back to what I talked about earlier. What does wealth mean to you? Now, Torb's portfolio is very kind to share what his portfolio looks like. Now, I've actually chopped this off because this is what Torb's portfolio would look like if he wasn't buying income generating properties that gave him the ability to borrow more. Because if you're buying properties that are losing you money or not creating income, you're going to get to a stage where the banks are going to go, you know what, you don't have the income to support buying more properties. But if you're buying properties that are creating an income, it gives you the ability to buy additional properties based on the fact that you've got the good income and each property is generating equity. So this is what Torb would be able to do. And you can see his first purchase price was actually $150,000 in Gisborne. Now this was in 2018, but you know, what's stopping the same thing being done right now? This is what Torb has been able to create. Multiple properties, again, creating a huge amount of income for himself. And again, being able to absolutely change his life. Torb now does not work, does a little bit of consulting here and there, travels to Sweden, sees his daughter, travels to New Zealand, does some fly fishing. Pretty cool to see. So I shared with you Ruby's deal. Ruby's deal, nice and it's a cute little deal. Pretty, we would say run of the mill sort of deal. Pretty what students can do without too much effort. But sometimes students like to go in and do slightly bigger deals. Clients like to go in and do deals that are going to create a little bit more for them. And that's what Hamish has done with this property here. Hamish is based in Christchurch, and Carol, I knew this was going to happen to me, but Carol always laughs at me when I have to say where this property is from. Okay, you can do this, Jono. Putaruru. How did I do, Carol? Oh, I did right today. Putaruru. Cool. So this property here, just north of Taupo, that Hamish was able to purchase for $740,000. He settled on this property in July 2022. So it's recent, guys. These are happening right now. A $42,000 renovation. Now it's only creating $24,000 of income. So over an annual period, it's $24,000. It's $2,000 a month of passive after all expenses, money in his back pocket. Now, you know what's amazing is that's $2,000 of income per month, but he borrowed all the money for this property. So the bank is paying for this property. Yes, he's paying them an interest rate, but after paying the interest, he's still able to create $2,000 a month of income. That there is so cool to see. And this comes down to the knowledge to be able to create the life that you guys want to try and create. Now, it gets better because you can see there a post-reno value of $1.2 million. How cool. So he's been able to create almost $450,000 of wealth towards him and his family's legacy on one purchase. One purchase. And this comes down to the knowledge that you need to be able to do deals like this. I didn't get anybody wanting anyone on Ruby's deals, but how about this one, guys? Let me know in the chat if you wouldn't mind one of these deals in your portfolio. Just one. $2,000 per month after all expenses, property manager looking after it, an extra $450,000 of wealth. Pretty cool. There you go, Sean wants one. I got a clap from him. Growth is a great byproduct of property. But cash flow and equity are key. probably another one, guys, if you want to grab a screenshot or you want to write that one down. I think that is really, really important. Growth is a great byproduct. And when you look at inflation, why would you not want your money in assets? But cash flow and equity creation is key. I'm going to shift gear a little bit here. And let's now have a look at how do we determine what type of property it is that we're going to go and purchase? And how do we know why a certain type of property or a certain property in a certain area is right for us? And it comes back to a principle that I talk about called SAD. I know that's a very negative stigma to come up with this one, but SAD, okay? What SAD is about is identifying the strategy that's going to get you to where you want to get to. So before you go and purchase a property, you understand the type of strategy that you want to follow. Because often as an uneducated investor, an investor that buys on emotion, remember that comment I was talking about before, the ways that they end up in property is generally probably three ways. First of all, they buy a new home, upgrade the family home, keep the existing home as a rental. I know so many people have done that. And yes, it can create long-term wealth through growth. Buy a house that's a couple of streets down the road because, well, I know the neighborhood, I feel comfortable with purchasing a property in that area. Or lastly, they attend a webinar and somebody says, this is the property that you should buy. And they go, okay, cool, that sounds good, without actually having a strategy that's in place for their actual deal. Now, I can assure you, I'm not going to sell you a property today. Wealth Mentor does not sell property. We're purely education. So don't stress. You're not going to get sold anything today. Okay. It's important to understand that it's about having the knowledge behind you to be able to then make the decision on what type of property to follow, which comes back to the first thing, which is identify what your strategy is. Identify what your strategy is. Once you identify what your strategy is, then you're able to go in and make the right decision for buying the type of property that is going to get you to where you want to get to. Once you've determined what that strategy is, then we can have a look at what area comes back to that strategy. Is this making a little bit of sense, Julia? Because, in your area, you are saying the values are a bit high. So first of all, let's identify the strategy, and then we can have a look at what area we can buy in. And it's okay to buy outside of an area that you live in if you have the people that you can count on to be able to look after. And that's what we want to make sure that you guys have the ability to do. And then last of all comes the deal. First, you determine the strategy. Then you determine what area is going to fit that strategy. And then last of all comes the deal. Give you an example. Would it be a good idea to do rent by the room options in a town or city that doesn't have either a lot of young professionals or a university? Probably not. But if you're looking to do a rent by the room as your strategy, high income earner, then potentially let's look at Dunedin. Let's go look at Palmy. So let's have a look at an area that fits that to then be able to figure that out. But guess what? Strategy is not the first thing. Goal is the first thing. I started with it this morning. Firstly, determine what do you want to achieve? What does wealth mean for you? Once you know what wealth means for you, let's then build a strategy, determine the area, and lastly comes the deal. Because when it comes to strategies, multiple different strategies that you could be going down. Owning your own home, number one. It is actually a strategy within your investment. It may not be for everybody, but it might be the best way for you guys to step ahead within your property investment journey. Buy and hold, simple properties. This is buying a property and renting it out. I've shown you Rubies. Trading or flipping, I'm going to show you a deal really shortly where you buy a property, add the value and sell. Like I said, Sean's on here. He's renovated multiple of my properties that I've done this on. This is something that you can do. Multi-income properties. jumping in and buying properties that have multiple income sources, like Hamish's deal. That's got 4 units, creating 4 separate income sources. And then lastly, we have developments. It's really the pinnacle of it. But developments have so many different concepts to it that you can use developments to be able to essentially follow pretty much all of the ones below us. So 5 actually has the ability to work through 1 through 4. So the different strategies are there for you guys. Now you might be going, well, what strategy is going to suit me? But unsure. What I do have for you guys today is the ability to have a chat to myself or Carol on this concept. What strategy could be best for you going forward? So what I've done, guys, is I've got this here. So if any of you guys are interested in having a chat with Carol or myself, if you scan that, it'll take you through to our calendar, and we'll be able to book a call. We'll have a chat with Carol or myself, and we can talk through what strategies and how we can best get you guys to buying the right types of property for your investment. I'll share that in there. And also, Carol, if you've got the link for our calendar as well, if you check, geez, you're good. I'd love to have a chat with you guys and be able to share some of the knowledge and some of the next steps that might be best for you guys and following to be able to achieve some of your goals. I've talked about adding value. Just quickly want to share with you guys 10 ways that you can add value to the properties. I'm not going to go into details. I don't have time now. We do cover this on some of our further programs and events that we do offer. But guys, there's some great value to be had right here. Cosmetic renovations, structural renovations. We're talking about getting there, first of all, putting some paint on the property, changing the layouts of the property, extending the property, conversions. We're going commercial to residential, changing titles, going from a cross lease to a freehold, converting garages to dwellings, adding dwellings, adding sleep outs, adding cabins, consents, even having a resource consent. I know I'm racing through these and I'd love to talk more, but if you do want to talk more about this, it's easy. Click that link, you book a call with us. The usage of the property and getting it up to market. There's certainly ways that you can add value to the property and add wealth to your portfolio, add wealth to your life. Now, when you follow these principles, you're able to add value. And these principles often come into it when we look at trading property. Now, I love trading property. There's one of our events coming up in just a few weeks that I'm going to spend an hour talking about trading property. It's one of my favorite sections that I get to talk about. But it's a really cool principle, trading property, because it gives you the ability to create pockets of cash, put it bluntly, to create large amounts of profits in short amounts of time. And this comes back to being able to create a really good return on investment. Let's have a look at this deal that Matt was able to do down in Wanganui. So this deal was only purchased for $250,000. Now, holding costs, that encompasses all the costs associated to your interest expenses. And he spent a $90,000 reno on this property. His total on the deal was $357,000. He sold the property for $475,000, some agent's fees in there, and giving him a profit of $99,000 on one deal. Now, it's important when you're doing a trade that you're looking at how hard your money is working for you. How hard is your money working for you in terms of your return? So what you want to do is you want to look at it in terms of what is your return on investment. Let's have a look at what return on investment is. Because when you look at it, return on investment is how hard your money is working for you. And I'm going to give you a really simple way to kind of get your head around it. If you put your money in the bank and you leave your money in the bank for a year, you're going to get what, 2% interest, maybe, on a good day? So you put $100 in, after a year, you've got $102. It's increased by 2%. Now, there's going to be some taxes on that as well, but you've got 2% return. Your money's working for you, but not really, because I'll get to inflation. But that gives you an idea that 2%, yes, I am getting overflow, excuse me. It does give us the ability to get 2% of return. Now, in terms of that, how hard is the money working for you? Not really that hard. So let's have a look at how we work out how hard our money is actually working for us. So first of all, we take our profit. What is the deal actually created for us? Now, the profit, we divide that by how much we've invested into the deal. The profit divided by money in the deal, multiply that by 100, is going to give us our return on investment. Once we establish what our return on investment is, then we know how hard our money is actually working for us. Let me share that with you now in terms of Matt's deal. So if you remember Matt's deal, he made $99,000, but his purchase price and his reno was $340,000 total. So we take $99,000 of profit, divide that by the $340,000 put in the deal, giving us a 29% return on investment. Over 10 times what your money would be earning for you in the bank. Guess what? It gets better in terms of trading. Because when you trade a property, you're not going to be putting $340,000 of cash in the deal. That would be silly. You're going to get lenders on board so that you put in only a deposit. So if we take that same concept and we use a 70% loan to value ratio, meaning that the lender is going to give you 70%. Now, this is very common with our trading. We can get 70%, 80%, and sometimes even 90% borrowing on the deal. I'm working out of 70%, meaning that we have a $75,000 deposit on this deal, plus a $90,000 renovation, giving us $165,000 of money that we're putting in, our investment. A $99,000 return over $165,000 is giving us a 60% return on investment. Think back, what did I say before? That the actual return, the actual deposit does not have to be cash. It could be equity. But if we're able to put $165,000 and create a 60% return on investment, that now is going 30 times what your money is going to be doing for you in the bank. 30 times harder with the security of an asset. Now it gets even better because we have to annualize the deal. We have to annualize the return on investment. You're not going to be doing this investment in a year. That's way too long to be in a trade. You should be in that trade for probably around about 3 months. But for this purpose of this exercise, I'm going to run it at 4 months. So if you were in this deal that Matt did for 4 months, meaning that you then earn that 60% return on investment in 4 months, to annualize it, nice and simple equation, we just multiply it by 3. So now it works it out over a 12-month period. All of a sudden, we've got 180% return on investment. 180% return. We're now 90 times better than our money sitting in the bank. Not only that, we've earned $199,000 of profits. Our money is working 3 times harder. 3 times that you could do that in a year. Absolutely. And that's what you have the ability to do with trading. It can change your future in your investment, your capital, and it's a really cool idea. Because why would you want to leave your money in the bank? What we have right now, guys, is money in the bank is actually going backwards. What I mean by that is currently we have inflation well above interest rates. So your money is actually becoming less worth less by just sitting in the bank, earning an interest. So why would you not want to put that into assets? Why would you not want to buy and hold like Ruby's done? A simple buy and hold that's going to create income for you. Potentially jump in what Matt's done and trade some properties. Because it comes back to it that right now in New Zealand, we've got a serious housing issue. We're 114,000 houses short. We only produce 35 max a year. Immigration is only just starting to warm up again and start to see some flow back in. There's one other thing that I want you to consider. No government that's going for re-election wants a housing market that is dropping significantly. No government going into election wants a housing market that's dropping significantly. Think about it. That's what I'm going to say on that topic. I don't want to get political today. So really, it's making decisions on where you're going to invest your capital. Because like I said, right now, guys, we have an opportunity right now. I'd love to be able to share some further knowledge with you guys as to how you can grow your investment knowledge to be able to make the right decisions. Like I said, we've got some really cool events coming up. And again, if you guys want to have a chat to me and Carol, our link is in the chat there. We would love to have a chat to you guys because right now is the big sale. Decide, what is your legacy going to be? My legacy, I know what it's going to be. For me, it's about these guys. It's about these guys creating the best life I can for them. I got one more story before I let you guys go for the day. I think I've gone over time, almost. When I dropped my my eldest daughter off Isla at kindy for the first time, they asked me, can you stay for a while and just make sure that she settles in okay? I'm like, yeah, sure. They said, just take us in the corner. I said, okay, sweet, no problem. There's no chairs. They said, just grab one of those little ones, little chair. So I sit there on this tiny little chair in the corner, and this cute little boy comes up to me, gorgeous little kid, and he looks like a little surfer. And he says to me, what are you doing? I'm just sitting here. My daughter's starting kindy today. Okay, that's cool. And he says to me, you better go. I was like, what do you mean I've got to go? The teachers asked me to stay here, dude. Like, it's all good. And he's like, you're going to be late. I'm like, what do you mean, man? I'm going to be late. Late for what? Is he going to be late for work? I was like, oh, yeah, that's okay. I don't need to go to work. And that was a moment that has stuck with me forever because his face completely changed. And what he said to me was, my daddy goes to work. And it's that moment that I realized what I had done within property had created a better life for my family because I was able to be present for them. That there stuck with me, and I love sharing that story, guys, because for me, it's about the legacy. And guess what? Right now, it's your time. It's your time to have any of your investment journey started to be able to create the legacy that you want to achieve. Here at Wealth Mentor, we've educated thousands and thousands of students and changed so many lives. It is really, really powerful what we've been able to do. And I'm so proud of the team at what we do. I mean, property is a great vehicle. 75% of the rich list come from property or property businesses. It's actually one of the quotes that I grabbed from one of our students. You don't have to be super smart. Well, proof is in the pudding. You guys have been listening to me for an hour. You don't have to be super smart with numbers or math. You just have to get out there and do it. You only got one shot in life. And if you educate myself, anything is possible. I've changed my entire mindset into something I never thought was possible being subjected to. So guys, if any of you would like to talk to Carol, myself, about your strategy, about further education, once again, I think it's time to book a call with us. Nice and simple, scan there. There's the links already in the chat. I have opened up my calendar for the next couple of hours. As well as that, if anyone wants to chat within this forum, please feel free to hang around and ask any questions. I'll be here for a little bit. As well as that, next week our calendars have been opened up as well. So we'd love to have a chat, Carol and myself, and be able to share with you guys anything that we can, and being able to create a journey that's going to get you guys to create the legacy that you want to achieve. Because you just needed to make a decision. What path are we going to go down? We're going to do nothing, keep doing what we've always done, or take action and start to invest in yourself and grow and become the best investor you can be, the best wealth for you and your family. Guys, it's been so good to be sharing with you guys today. the journey of not only myself, but what you can achieve within property. And hopefully I've given you guys some tips, some tricks. I've given you everything I can within the hour. I think I've nailed it in terms of time. Like I said, we will hang around. There's the scan barcode, the QR code right there, guys. If you want to jump on a call with Carol or myself, we would love to have a chat to you guys. Once again, thank you so much for joining on a Saturday morning. Have a fantastic weekend. And most of all, guys, make sure that you always stay awesome. Have a great one, guys. See you later. Bye.